How you doing, guys? Keelan here from Horizon Speakers. I'm with Nick Williams here today. Nick, in my opinion, is one of the leading lights across the world in terms of helping people live life on purpose and also finding their true purpose in terms of their working life. He's a co-founder of inspired-entrepreneur.com, and we recently had Nick over at one of our, to give a presentation here with Horizon Speakers here in Dublin, and I can tell you from hanging out with the guy, he eats his own cooking, and he certainly lives congruent to his own message, and he's an all-around great guy. So with no further ado, Nick, thanks very much for joining us here today.
Well, pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Great to speak to you.
Not at all. So Nick, hopefully we'll have a good old chat here today about what it is you do and why you do it. And I know from having a couple of cups of coffee and pint or two over a couple of months that one of your big things is I suppose discovering why it is that people do what they do. So before we talk a little bit about what you actually do and how you can help people live their life more on purpose, why is it you do what you do, and why is it so important to you?
Well, yeah, I had a corporate career. I went down a kind of conventional career path and did a degree in business studies and had two or three jobs. And the last one was a corporate job selling computers. But I got to my late 20s, early 30s, and I just wasn't happy. And I really just felt like I needed to do something more meaningful, even though I was making, okay money. And I just know how hard it was for me to change directions. There was so many opportunities for me to give up or give in and just kind of follow the conventional career paths. And I'm so glad I didn't, A, for my own happiness and sanity, and B, because I know that I've now helped thousands of other people. So, the quick answer to your question is why? Partly because it's just so damn difficult to do this on your own. I just want to support people, and as I said, it's been so challenging for me, and now I've got to a kind of better place for myself, and I just want to reach out a hand to other people and go, yeah, it is possible to change directions, but sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's lonely, sometimes you don't know what to do, and I'd love to be a bit of a guide. So, that's really what motivates me to do what I do, is to serve other people.
Good, and I suppose having discussed this concept with many different people, it's becoming apparent to me that one of the keys to success in life and anything is actually kind of helping other people be a success in their own lives, and that's kind of like the success system that can't fail almost.
I think if you're only living for yourself, then however successful you are materially, there isn't going to be that deep fulfillment there. In my experience, that sense of a meaningful, fulfilling life will only come when you're also, not being a martyr, but when you're also living for something beyond your own personal gain.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose for many people out there, they're focused on their day-to-day lives, and oftentimes they're going to work just to earn a crust, and possibly their heart's not in it, and they're kind of going through the motions, and they're just collecting a paycheck. Like I have a view on that myself, that that really that's not good enough, not for me or not for someone else, but for themselves. They're almost selling themselves short. So I suppose how do people go about, I suppose crossing over that threshold from kind of just going to work, earning a crust, making a living, and then actually, living more on purpose and contributing more and all that kind of stuff. How do they go about doing that?
Great question. I'll just give you a few quick answers. So number one, you're right. Yes, most of us have just been brought up to think of work as a kind of material and economic activity. So many of us just don't think it could be anything else. So first thing is, work can be an emotionally engaging activity, and I think it can also be a spiritually engaging activity. So, number one is just to kind of break beyond your limitations of what you think work can be. Secondly, I think it's so sad, that most people don't get to play to their strengths at work every day. I think there was a Gallup poll that interviewed something like 200,000 people, and 80% of people reckon that they don't get to play to their strengths every day at work. So one suggestion is, either because you know it intuitively, or because you've been told it, or do some kind of online research. There's tons of ways of discovering this now. There's lots of kind of strengths finder mechanisms. Discover what your real strengths are, and figure out how you can start to build your work more around your strengths rather than, just going through the motions. And also, I think it's really hard to kind of go to a job that you don't enjoy and not have any vision of what could be beyond it. So I'm also a great encourager of people to say, okay, well, if you did win the lottery tomorrow or something like that happened and you could do any work that you really wanted to do, what would you most love to do? Because I think it can make work that you don't particularly enjoy more meaningful if you also have a longer term dream that you're working towards, something that your current work can be a springboard towards. And one final thing I'd say is a lot of people kind of go, well, one day I'm going to find the work I was born to do and work that I'd love, and then I'll commit to it. I'm also a great believer in really giving yourself fully to what it is that you're doing right now. And again, that's not being a martyr and it's not being in kind of sacrifice, but it's saying, okay, this isn't what I want to be doing, and I find it hard to be wholehearted about it, but let me be wholehearted about where I am. Because I've met a lot of people that once they become more wholehearted where they are, actually new opportunities come their way because people see them not withholding themselves. And the more kind of wholehearted they are, the more opportunities begin to come their way.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've seen it myself. In fact, I've experienced it myself firsthand from,
Yeah,
you
me
know,
too.
yeah, I was running a business that, my heart wasn't in, I was making good money from
Yeah,
it, even though it was my own business. And it's funny, when you start your own
yeah,
business, it's a kind of a doubly frustrating thing in the sense that you're no longer working for someone else, you're actually working for yourself. But sometimes,
mm,
depending on the way how you set up the business, you can kind of end up trapping yourself within your own business.
mm,
And if in the
yeah.
in the end your heart's not in it, you can become a kind of unhappy place
No.
to be.
And the truth is, you can't hide that. You can't really hide it from yourself, and other people know it. And you're not going to be as successful because people kind of know you're not doing it in a wholehearted way.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I got involved with Horizon was because it became a bit of a no-brainer for me to. This was an area I was passionate about. I was like yourself, I was passionate about helping people live on
Mm,
purpose. I was passionate about my own self living on purpose. So, I felt, well, this is kind of congruent with me. So, I think I found a niche that works for me. And I suppose the challenge for most people is to find that niche for themselves. And,
mm,
you know, uh, at your talk you gave there recently, it was brought up with this idea there that one kind of stepping stone people can make towards kind of living more on purpose is have this idea of two trains moving alongside in the track, and one train is the train you're on, and the second train
mm,
is maybe something you're more passionate about, but it's gradually kind of moving along the track, and at that certain moment in time you have your Tom Cruise moment, and you leap across onto the other
yeah.
train. So is that something you kind of your sort of your own ideas and keeping with that, or you see you have to kind of make a
Yeah.
clean break between doing something you're not supposed to be doing and doing following your true passion.
Yeah. I'm all for dreaming, and I'm a great dreamer, and I'm a great doer. So I'm all for having a dream that you're building at the evenings and the weekends. Because again, like I said earlier, it's very hard to be doing something that you don't really enjoy and not have a sense of how anything could be different. So a lot of people do have this dream. It's like, well, one day I'm going to find what I really want to do, and I'm going to go off into the sunset and do it, and I'm going to be happy, and everything's going to be all right. In my experience, it doesn't particularly happen that way. What happens is that, people get inspired about something. So I'm a great encourager of finding a little dream that you can work on in the evenings and at the weekends. So it might be your own business. Maybe never been entrepreneurial before. You've only ever worked for somebody else. So get your little kind of entrepreneurial venture going, start formulating your ideas, start packaging what it is you want to be doing, and find your first one or two clients, because then you've really crossed the threshold and you begin to get excited. And if you found one or two clients for the thing that you really want to be doing, you can find 10, you can find 20, you can find 100 clients once you've proved the concept. So yeah, I'm a passionate advocate of what I call baby steps. So even though they don't feel very sexy, and sometimes they can even feel a bit pointless, because you think, what's the point of doing something small? It's not going to lead to anything. But if I trace my whole kind of, life transformation back, it's come to taking lots of little steps. And I'm a great believer that, steps build on top of each other. It's like compound interest. You take a little step, it builds on the shoulders of what you've done before, and you keep doing that for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and suddenly your life looks very different, but only because you've taken those lots of little gradual steps.
life is a little bit like that. It's kind of get in line, stay in line. I think some people are probably looking for the quick fix or the magic bullet sometimes as well, or maybe they make
Yeah,
too dramatic a gesture. I don't know.
yeah,
Sometimes they would have gone to a seminar and
yeah.
they're packing a job on a Monday morning, and maybe that's not the wisest thing to do all the time.
Uh, for some people, it is the right thing to do. So I never want to limit anybody by saying don't do it, because I obviously encourage people to trust themselves. But just because you have a moment of inspiration doesn't mean the universe is going to get behind you in the next 10 minutes and suddenly you're going to have a €100,000 business where you've never had one before. It's likely to be more of a slow burn, but it's quite possible to do it if you're willing to keep investing the energy to making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one of the things that I've been kind of grappling with myself and having conversations with people with on a daily basis is that, a lot of the stuff that Horizon is about, and I know from your own perspective there, Nick, it's all definitely about enabling people to, find their true purpose and kind of, profit from their passion and that kind of stuff, which often entails people starting their own business or running their own business and being an entrepreneur, or maybe even a more an inspired entrepreneur. But you know, is it fair to say that there's some people actually maybe don't have that calling, or don't feel that urge to kind of go out on their own or start their own business, whatever it might be, but are actually happy to kind of work, in a job, let's say, and it is, in your opinion, is that okay?
Yes. I'm not saying the whole world should start their own business necessarily. I represent that niche of people that I call inspired entrepreneurs, which are people that take some work that they love doing and is meaningful to them and they want to build a business around it. But that doesn't suit everybody. So you're right. My big picture is I want people to be happy in the work that they do. I don't know if you know that quote from Khalil Gibran, who said, "Your work is your love made visible." That's the kind of thing that motivates me. That, when people are doing what they love and expressing some love through their work, then they're going to be happy. Whether that's for an organization or whether it's for their own business, to me, that's not the important thing. But my path has been around leaving an organization to start my own business 20 years ago. So I'm a passionate supporter and encourager of people that want to take a similar route. But I'm not saying everybody has to do that. But I also think you've hit on something which is really right, which is, I certainly grew up believing this. Most people think you either work for money or you work for love, and that you don't work for love and money. It's like you either sell your soul to earn a living or you do something you love and you have to half starve in the process. And what I'm about, an inspired entrepreneur, is you can have the love and you can have the money. You don't have to make that choice and go, well, I'll sell my soul to earn €100,000 a year and I'm going to hate it, but hey, I just have to do it. Or I'm going to start my own coaching business, but I'm going to have to, live in a hair shirt and cycle everywhere because I can't afford to run my car anymore. I think that when you show up and do the work you love and you do it with passion and you do it with high energy and you learn how to, build a business, I think there are some very clear business strategies that you have to kind of, engage with. But I think it's perfectly possible, and I'm doing it, from a standing start. I'm earning good money doing work that I love. But I also think, you have to clear some of the internal blocks. And having come to Ireland for the last 10 years, I know guilt's a big thing in Ireland, just as it is in the UK. And I think, to be honest, some people feel really guilty about having things be too good. And I think it's about getting beyond that guilt and saying, hey, we're here to have a blessed life, not a selfish life, but a blessed life. That if you're showing up, doing something you love, making a difference, earning good money out of it, what an inspiration you are going to be to people around you, because you're showing a whole new possibility.
But you're right. I mean, it brings me on to a kind of an idea about money, and I think, I don't know, what your thoughts on it, but certainly, we kind of have an unhealthy relationship with money. Certainly in Ireland, we had this newfound wealth recently. Up to we had this Celtic Tiger and this big boom, and then I think, we probably hadn't the skills and the tools or the experience to manage the wealth that we created, and hence it kind of disappeared quite quickly. But at the same time, I wonder, is there a kind of more deeper rooted mindset around money that, people have a funny relationship with it, that's got a story about money, and
Yeah, well, I think there's this whole thing about money being unholy. That whole idea of you can't, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich person to get to heaven and all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of the conditioning we have around money is about guilt, it not being a good thing. And my take on it is that money is neither good nor bad. You can use it to create war and, weapons of mass destruction and kill people. You can use money to inspire, to educate, to bless, to do wonderful things. It's not the money, it's the consciousness around it. So I think the real call for us today is to let money kind of be innocent. It's neither good nor bad. Let us kind of, let money be used for fantastic stuff.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. In terms of like, say, people that inspired you, be they books, speakers, whatever might be that inspired you. Have you any kind of recommendations or tips, suggestions for people that material they can should get their hands on if they're kind of struggling with this concept at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've been lucky to be exposed to hundreds of people over the last 20 odd years, having used to run alternatives in London. I used to meet many of them. Probably a few of my greatest inspirations personally are Marianne Williamson. I love her. I love her teachings of A Course in Miracles. I love the fact that she's a real warrior for kind of love and spirituality in the world in I think, a very healthy way, in a true way, as opposed to a kind of religious dogmatic way. So she's a great inspiration to me. One of my other great inspirations is a guy who not many people have heard of called Stephen Pressfield. And his book, The War of Art, not The Art of War, but The War of Art, has been probably one of the most life-changing books I've ever read. I've read it probably about 20 times. And it's all about how to beat resistance, because we kind of alluded to it. But I think, when you want to live a life of meaning, when you want to live a higher purpose life than just material existence, you're going to have to learn to understand and contend with resistance. And resistance is all the different ways that we procrastinate, we delay, we stop ourselves going as far as we could, and all those things. So he, more than anybody, has been a kind of inspiration to me around understanding what resistance is and helping myself and other people get through resistance so that we can really live the life that we're capable of living.
Hmm. And I suppose finally, just to conscious that we're chatting for a while here, just to wrap it up soon, but I have a theory that deep down inside everybody knows that there's something they probably want to do with their lives, and for whatever reasons, be it programming, be it the way they've been brought up, their parents, their background, whatever, they somehow bury that inner self or inner calling, inner voice. Do you think that fundamentally everybody has a kind of a deep enough or a deeper purpose in life than maybe what they think they might have?
I believe so, yeah. Because if I say no, or if we believe that that's not true, then it's almost saying, well, the universe has spare parts, that there are people that exist for no reason. And I don't think that is true, and I don't think it can be true. I believe in a God, and I believe in a God that's created us all. I'm a student of something called A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles actually says very clearly that each of our parts is essential in the plan for salvation. And salvation in A Course in Miracles is not, a Christian type of salvation, but salvation is simply taking the world from fear and guilt and returning it to love. So I do believe that we're all here to play a part in returning the world to love. So yeah, I do believe everybody has a purpose. I believe there's a part of each of us that knows what that is. And I believe that most of us have developed pretty good strategies for hiding that from ourselves. So you're right. I think we do need a real level of self-honesty, like when I was in my corporate job 25 years ago saying, why am I really here? I'm not here to sell computers to banks. I know there's another reason I'm here, but as soon as I kind of thought about, being creative and writing books and teaching people, that the resistance in me was just so massive. But I think it's really important to say, yes, there's a deep part of me that does know why I'm here, and it scares the heck out of me. But that's not a reason to stop pursuing it.
And I suppose just to carry on from that, why is it you think that the education system and universities and I don't know governments, whatever, work on the basis of making it nearly impossible for people to actually find out who they really are and what their inner calling is? I mean, you really have to kind of live a little bit on the edge. I think you almost have to kind of go against the grain and against the crowd, which is also an uncomfortable place to be. But why do you think it's a possible chance of a change in either corporate culture or education systems down the line at some stage?
I suppose rather than personalize it, I'd say, well, there's the kind of ego thinking and there's more spiritually minded or soulful thinking. And, most of the world is set up on ego thinking. The whole world of work was really set up on feeding factories 200 years ago to a large extent. And although the factories have gone, a lot of the offices are the modern day factories. So we kind of got education system that churns out people to go into offices and factories. We don't have an education system that says, what are you uniquely here for? What brings you alive? What do you think you're on this planet for? So, you're right, it's a shame. But hey, I think we're in the process of turning it around.
I think we are, turn around. I suppose you kind of have to be, you have to start with yourself. You can be that beacon, or you can be the catalyst. You can be your own change, so to speak. I'm totally, this idea of, we're human beings, not human doings, I suppose. And we've kind of, I feel that sometimes the education system has kind of failed us a bit. We've become human doings, fulfilling the, job roles, tasks, paying your taxes.
Yeah, we're about ticking boxes and passing exams rather than about really knowing who we are and what we're capable of.
But look, Nick, we could talk all day, and
we'll have to have another.
We'll have to have another chat some other stage, and maybe go into some of these deeper questions. But I personally think people are curious about, maybe the sort of what's beneath the surface about what they're doing in their lives. And I know certainly I am, and Horizon is definitely interested in, finding out what that is and talking with guys like yourself and getting your own insights and thoughts on it. So I just want to say thanks a million for your time today.
It's a joy. I never tire of speaking about these subjects. So thank you for the opportunity.
So we look forward to hopefully getting a chance to speak again. And for those of you out there, just to say again that Nick's website is www.inspired-entrepreneur.com. So you can check out all about Nick there, and also feel free to check on horizonspeakers.com for up and coming events. And hopefully we'll have Nick over again in Ireland at some stage in the near future. So thanks very much.